He looks confident.
Welcome to the main event. This is True Ring News Network, your ringside access to WWE news and drama. Subscribe and let's rumble. There are moments in wrestling that go beyond championships, rivalries, or drama inside the ring. Moments that dig deep into human emotions and leave an entire audience stunned. This story is one of those rare shocks, a moment built not on physical power, but on heartbreak. It wasn't just a match, it was a collapse of trust, love, partnership, and everything one man believed would stand forever. And at the center of this emotional earthquake stood Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, two figures whose real-life bond and on-screen chemistry had once seemed unbreakable. The king at the peak of his power. At the time, Triple H was at the top of the world. He had the championships, the influence, and the respect of the locker room. More than anything, he had the woman he loved standing by his side. Stephanie wasn't just a manager on screen. She was someone he trusted deeply, someone he believed understood his ambition and shared his vision. They were the power duo who walked into every arena like royalty, commanding attention with every step. And for a while, everything seemed perfect, until it didn't. Signs of trouble. Behind the curtain. Looking back, the warning signs were always there, hiding beneath the polished smiles and coordinated ringside plans. Stephanie had moments where her frustration slipped through, brief, subtle flashes that suggested she was struggling with something unspoken. Maybe Triple H didn't notice because he was too focused on the championship chase. Maybe he thought their bond was strong enough to withstand anything. But cracks in a relationship rarely show themselves until it's too late to fix them. A championship night filled with promise. The fateful night arrived during one of the most important matches of Triple H's career. Every seat in the arena vibrated with energy. Every fan expected greatness. And Stephanie, standing ringside, looked like she was ready to support him as she always had. Triple H had one hand reaching toward glory, and the other holding onto the belief that his partner would guide him toward victory. The stage was set for a celebration, until the moment everything unraveled. The betrayal that no one saw coming. What happened next is etched into WWE history as one of the most shocking turns ever captured on live television. At the most crucial moment of the match, when Triple H needed support, Stephanie made a decision that left millions speechless. Instead of helping him secure the championship, she turned against him with a precision that felt almost surgical. Whether it was a distraction, a handed weapon, or a moment that opened the door for his opponent, it was clear that the betrayal was deliberate. Triple H didn't just lose the match. He lost the person he believed would never abandon him. The look that said everything. When Triple H hit the mat and looked up at Stephanie, the expression on his face wasn't the look of a wrestler defeated in the ring. It was the look of a man who had been emotionally shattered. His eyes weren't filled with anger or fury. They were heavy with disbelief, heartbreak, and the overwhelming pain of realizing someone you trust more than anyone else has chosen to destroy you. It was raw, painful, and impossible to forget. Stephanie's silent storm. Stephanie's face in that moment was equally gripping. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't celebrating. Her expression hovered somewhere between determination and regret. It was clear she believed she was making a necessary choice, even if it tore her apart in the process. The conflict in her eyes told a story of its own, that this wasn't just betrayal for the sake of storyline shock. It was a moment that carried emotional weight even she seemed unprepared to handle. Triple H, left alone with the pieces. After the match, Triple H didn't storm backstage. He didn't retaliate. Instead, he sat in the center of the ring, staring at Stephanie as the world around him blurred. This wasn't the game. This wasn't the ruthless strategist. This was just a man fighting to understand how the foundation of his life had crumbled right in front of him. His silence said more than any promo ever could. In those few seconds, every fan felt the pain with him, the heartbreak, behind the microphone. When Triple H finally spoke in interviews afterward, his voice wasn't the powerful, commanding tone fans were used to. It cracked. He paused between sentences, struggling to articulate his emotions. His words weren't about championships or lost opportunities. They were about trust, about the future he thought they were building together, and how it had vanished in an instant. It was one of the rare times the wrestling superstar looked completely human, vulnerable, and emotionally defeated. The fallout that changed everything. The aftermath of that betrayal transformed both Triple H and Stephanie for years to come. Triple H became more guarded, more layered, and far more complex on screen. Fans watched him evolve from the confident king into someone who carried the scars of emotional betrayal. Stephanie, on the other hand, stepped further into her powerful persona, showing she was willing to make painful choices to stand by what she believed in. Their story became a reminder that even the strongest partnerships can fracture under pressure, and that sometimes loyalty becomes the most dangerous weapon in the ring. Why this moment hit so hard? What made this storyline unforgettable was its emotional authenticity. Whether scripted or influenced by real tensions, it struck a chord because nearly everyone can relate to betrayal in some form. The story wasn't about wrestling moves or title belts. It was about love, trust, vulnerability, and the heartbreaking realization that the people closest to us can sometimes hurt us the most. It's these human layers that lifted the storyline from entertainment to something deeper, something almost painfully real. A legacy of emotion and impact. To this day, the image of Triple H sitting alone in that ring remains one of the most powerful visual moments in wrestling history. It wasn't about losing a match. It was about losing a connection that had seemed unbreakable. The storyline challenged fans to look beyond the physicality of wrestling and appreciate the emotional storytelling that makes the sport so special. It reminded everyone that heartbreak can be just as devastating as any finisher, and sometimes far more memorable. A moment fans still debate. Years later, fans still debate whether Stephanie was justified in her decision, or whether it stands as one of the ultimate betrayals in wrestling history. But no matter which side you fall on, one thing is clear: this moment changed the landscape of WWE storytelling. It proved that wrestling's most unforgettable blows aren't always delivered with a sledgehammer. They're delivered through trust, emotion, and the relationships we think will last forever.